Hello friends, I welcome you all to my channel. This video is part of the playlist Python Programming Beginner's Daily Dose. In this video, I will discuss the concept of sequence slicing in Python. This is part 1. I will discuss the very basics of sequence slicing, and in part 2 and part 3, I will discuss a little more advanced concept of sequence slicing. Before I get started, I will highly request all of you, if you are watching my videos on regular basis and if you are having benefits from my videos, then please support me by subscribing to my channel and like my videos, share them with your friends, and also do not forget to press the bell icon so that you will be notified by my future videos. Okay, so let's start with this. Let's get started with this video. Okay, so on the left hand side, I have the Python shell, and on the right hand side, I have a notepad where I will try to visually explain the concept of sequence slicing. So let's say we have the sequence slicing only works on sequence data types in Python, like the list, uh, sequence slicing works on uh, lists, tuples, strings, and range, bytes, byte array, etc. So these are all sequence data type in Python. So the slicing only works on sequence data type. Now, the syntax of sequence slicing is, let's say X is a sequence data type, and the way we specify the slicing is X. Then in square bracket we have start, this is an integer, then colon, then end, this is also an integer, and then step. So we have three integers separated by colon, where the first one, start, is mandatory, and the end step integers are optional. So the possible way of using can be X start, or X start end, or X start end. Here in the second one we have omitted the end. It will take a default value, which we will discuss later. Third one is start end, where we have omitted the step parameter. Now what does this X start colon end step means? This syntax or this expression basically this expression marks some elements in X. By specifying the parameter start, end, and step, we have essentially marked or selected some elements in the data sequence X. Now, how are these elements selected? So this start and end are actually the index position of those selected elements. So those elements will start from the start index and it will end in the index end -1. And step is the way we will increment the index position to mark the selected elements. So essentially, for selecting the elements, the algorithm goes like this. For how do we know the index position of the selected elements? So if so, basically, we select we uh, we select all those xk where start less than equals to k less than end. This has to hold. K will start from the start index and will be 1 less than the end. And also, so it will start from start and then it will become then so the logic will be something like this: k equals to start, then while k uh, while k less than while k less than end, we will have kind of select, or I'm using the pseudocode mark xk for selection. That means we are selecting the element xk mark xk for selection, and then we increment the index k by step. So if you do not provide step, it will have a default value of 1, and if you do not provide end, the default value will be the length of the sequence x. So default k equals to 1, default end equals to length of x. So this is basically the algorithm. So let's see visually. So with this expression this expression only marks some elements of the input sequence x. That is all this expression means. Now in the code, the meaning of the expression in the code will depend how we are using it. If we are using it on the left hand side, it will mean that we are trying to modify the sequence x, and if we are using this expression on the right hand side, we mean we are essentially selecting all the marked elements from x, and that selection will essentially be a list of the selected elements. So in this part 1 of the video, I will demonstrate and explain where we are using this expression on the right hand side. That is, we are just merely selecting some elements from the input sequence x. So let's say x is a list, or rather a sequence, where since sequence have index position, let's say we have a sequence like this, where the first is a value. I'm considering heterogeneous elements to understand, to discuss the concept, because in general in Lisp Python you use homogeneous elements. But for the sake of explanation of a concept, I will take heterogeneous elements. Let's say the second element is a string ABC. The third element, let's say, is a list, which is an empty list. Say the third is a dictionary. Let's say something like this. Again, let's say something like this. The last element is a tuple, say 3 comma x, no, not x, some string, let's say t. Now let's say we have an expression like this, x 0 4, sorry, x, let's say this. We are omitting the end and step parameters. So when end is omitted, it means length of x. Length of x. So here length of x is 1 2 3 4 5 6 6. And so this essentially is equivalent to x 0 6 and default value of step is 1. Now, so we have x 0 6 1. So how from these 0 6 1, how the elements of x are selected? So when we are using this expression on the right hand side, it basically returns a list of all the selected elements. So what will be that slice? What will this slice look like? It will be a list of selected elements from the input of the data sequence x. So 0, the elements with the index position of the selected elements will be start from 0. So 0, okay, fine. So how many elements will be here in the slice? Number of elements in slice is, the formula is end minus start divided by step. So over here, the number of elements will be 6 minus 0 divided by 1. So it will be length is 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Length is 6. Okay. And so number of elements in this sequence will be 6, because 6 minus 0 divided by 1, which is 6. So what are the selected elements? Selected elements are x0, x1, x2, x3, x4. It will go up to 5. 6 is not included. End is not included. You see, k less than end. End is not the index position. End is not included. So from start to end minus 1. So how many elements we have? 6. So this slice will essentially be the list or the data sequence, a list basically. The 9. Okay, one more important thing. When you are creating a slice, when a slice is created, slice is basically a list of the selected elements from the input sequence. When the slice is created, a shallow in the list of the slice, a shallow copy of the elements from the input sequence S is is obtained, a shallow copy. It is not a deep copy. By that I mean, over here in the input sequence, you have 9. So 9 is a numeric value. So it will straight away be copied, right? It is an immutable object. So it will never be changed. So it will be directly copied. It's 9. Now ABC string is also will be as is an immutable data. It will be straight away copied. Now this thing, this element, the third, this 0, 1, 2, the third element in input sequence is a mutable data object. List is a mutable data object. So a shallow copy of this empty list will be created here. Essentially what will happen is in the list of the slice, this element will essentially be sorry will essentially be a reference to the third element of the input sequence. This element will essentially be a reference to this. Now again, the fourth element in the input sequence is also a dictionary, which is also a mutable data type. So here also these elements will essentially be a reference to the dictionary element in the input sequence, will be a reference. Now 10 will be copied as it is. Also the tuple the tuple will also be copied because the elements of the tuple are also immutable data type. So this will be the slice. So important thing to note that when the third element of the input sequence is a list, is a immutable data type, a reference to that object is stored in the slice. Meaning if I do so now, okay, so this slice is a kind of list, which means it will support the iterable protocol. So you can always use for in statement with the slice. The slice, and you can do print x. Now if I okay, now remember that these start, end and step, they can also be negative integers. They can be 0, they can be negative integers. For those cases we will discuss in the future part. In this part we are considering that start can be 0 and end and step are positive integers. So now so the slice that we are getting is a kind of list. So it is an iterable. You can iterate over the elements of the slice using the for in statement. And yes, and what else? Also, depending on how you are using this expression, slicing expression, it will either modify the sequence X or it will create a list of the selected elements of X. Okay. Now let's try to see some code. Let's see if I take the same example that I have drawn. Let's say 9 ABC is an empty list. Then we have a dictionary, and we have 10. Then we have tuple. Okay, so we have this list. Now let's create access. Let's see what the slice this that we have gives, you see, it gives the all the it selects all the 6 elements of the input sequence because we have omitted end. End means length of x, which is 6. So the index position of the selected elements will start from 0 and will the last element will have index position length of x minus 1, which is 5, and the step is also by default 1. Now let's store the slice in some variable. Unexpected. Okay, so I think there is a space, no problem. Okay, now let's see what is the type of S. It's a list, it's a kind of list. Now to see that the third element of the slice, as you can see in the diagram, is basically a reference to the third element of the input sequence X. And we can check that whether two objects of the same reference, I mean two data are pointing to the same object in the memory address. We can check that by with the ID function. ID returns the memory address of a data object. So if I do ID of X, the third element is 2, what do I get? I get this. Now what about the same for slice? You see, the ID is same. The third element of the slice, the address of the third element of the slice and the third element of the input sequence X are same. You can also check this with the is operator. Is operator basically checks whether two data points to the same address in the memory. It is true. You can also check this for 3, that is for the dictionary. It is true. Now, what does this mean? If I modify the third element, that is the empty list in the slice, it should also modify the third element of the input sequence X. So, and then vice versa. So let's first modify the empty list in the slice by appending an element inside the list, and then we will check if the list in the input sequence gets modified or not. So let's say I do from the slice S, the empty list is 0, 1, 2. I append an let's say I append a value 0. I can do this. Now let's check S. So see, the third element empty list has now value 0 inserted in the list. Now let's check X. See, the list also, the third element of the list which was empty also now has the 0 element. So when I modified the third element of the slice, it also modified the third element of the input sequence, because both the third element of the slice and the input sequence are referring to the same data object in the memory. Now I will do the reverse for the dictionary. I will modify the dictionary in the input sequence and will check whether that modifies the dictionary in the slice. So the dictionary element in the input sequence is the element 0, 1, 2, 3. How about I add another key 3, let's say C, and now if I check X, so the key 3 has been added to the dictionary element. Now let's see what is S. You see, 3 has also been added to the dictionary element of the slice. So this shows that the third and the fourth element of the slice is basically a reference to the, or a shallow copy of the third and fourth element of the input sequence. Now, so this is all. We are using the expression, slice expression, on the right hand side of a Python statement. So we get the a list of the selected elements. if you use the same expression on the left hand side, it will actually modify the input sequence, which we will discuss in some future video in part 2 or part 3. And also in the part 2, we will discuss what is the scenario when any of the three parameters, start, end, or k is negative. We will discuss those situation. I hope the basic the basic idea, the basic usage of the slicing is clear to you. And so the slice works for all the sequence data type like list, tuples, range, and strings. These are the main data types, and also there are other sequence data types like bytes, byte array, and memory view. And that is all. What else I can discuss? Slice, yeah. So the Python documentation says when you create a slice, a new object is created, meaning this list is a new object. This list is a new object, but maybe some element in the some element of the slice could be a reference to the corresponding element of the input sequence X. But slice always creates a new list. So let's try to use the start, end, and in a different way. So we have here omitted the end and a step. So this, let's say we want to select the first three elements of the sequence X, the first three elements. So it would start from 0, and the end will be 3, because when we specify end as 3, it will go, the index position will go up to 2, and we can omit the step, because by default it will be 1. So we are having 9 ABC and the 0, the list with 0, because we have modified the list in the previous statements. So this is also same if we specify 1. Now let's say we want to select every alternate elements, like the first element, the third element, and so on. So we start with the first element, and we skip one element and then select the next. For that we can say we can omit the end, and we can specify the step as 2. Let's see what is. So we got 9, list, and 10. So the first element ABC got skipped, we got the list, dictionary got skipped, we got 10, and the last tuple got skipped. You see? So X, since the step is 2, the X, this is equals X0, X2, X4. That's all, because we won't have X6, because there are only 6 elements. So we have 3 elements, and X4 is the 5th element. So this is all about the usage. What else can we do? Yeah, we can also select the elements from the back, from the end, but in that case we have to specify the start as negative values, or the end as negative values, even the step as negative values, which we will discuss in the next video. I hope the basic usage is clear. And yeah, that's it. So if you like this video, Please share it with your friends and support my channel by subscribing to my channel. And also do not forget to press the bell icon so that you will be notified by my future videos on Python. I keep on posting this kind of videos on Python, basics of Python, for beginner level programmers, so that they get a little bit insight of how Python uh, works behind the scenes. So thanks for watching, and until the next video, take care and bye.